In 1 Corinthians 9, the Apostle Paul writes, "Even though I'm free with no master, I have become a slave to all to bring many to Christ." He goes on to say, "When I was with the Jews, I lived as a Jew to bring the Jews to Christ. When I was with the Gentiles who do not follow the Jewish law, I too live apart from the law so I can bring them to Christ." He goes on to say, "I do not ignore the law, but I obey the law of Christ." When I am with those who are weak, Paul says, I share their weakness, for I want to bring the weak to Christ. Yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. I do everything to spread the good news and share in its blessings. It's often been said that people do not care what we know until they know that we care. And the Apostle Paul saying he showed how much he cared for others by identifying with them, understanding how they lived and what their thought processes were, and truly becoming one with them in a sense. He did that because he had such a strong foundation that he had built upon the rock-solid faith that he had in Christ, that then he could reach out to others. We are called upon to share the love of Christ. Matter of fact, Jesus said we're not going to be known by our preaching or our music or anything else. We're going to be known by how we love God and love one another. And part of loving others is to take an active interest in what they're interested in. If Paul were to write this today, he'd probably say, when I was with those who liked the opera, I too came to know more and more about opera and enjoyed that. And when I was with those who like to work out a lot, I worked out myself and became more and more knowledgeable about that. It's really identifying with those that are around us. And I wonder how often we kind of put walls up around our lives. And if someone wants to have a relationship with us, they have to come and meet us on our turf, on our terms. And what the Apostle Paul says is that we are to reach out the love of Christ and do it on their terms. Rick Warren has an expression that he used about talking about being in the world but not of it. He says that he has a love, a real affection for sea bass. He says, but every time I eat sea bass, I have to put salt on it. And that's bizarre because that particular fish had lived in the ocean the whole time. And I think that's an example of how we can understand that we can be in the world but not of it. And that's exactly what Christ calls us to do, to be reaching out, loving those around us, doing so on their terms, identifying with them, understanding how they think and how they, the things that they do, in order that we might share with them in some way and to pour ourselves out for them. That is truly what God has called us to do, and may He find us faithful at every turn.